she gasped, cradling her swollen belly. This is your doing, human. 5 minutes. That's all it took. The forest of Delmora Prime pulsed with bioluminescent life. A silver mist hung low, shimmering around towering trees whose trunks spiraled with ancient glyphs. Somewhere deep within, near a forgotten battlefield from a war long over, two beings stood facing one another in the hush of disbelief. Alea of the Alari was a proud warrior of the 9th Sky House, tall, alabaster-skinned, her silver-white hair falling like moonlight over her bare shoulders. Her kind had evolved past inefficient reproduction centuries ago. Offspring in their culture were synthesized, engineered, regulated. Except this time, Alea stared down at her suddenly full, unmistakably pregnant belly. "Explain," she hissed at the man across from her. Jace Thorne, former Terran Special Forces, now a rogue explorer and survivalist, raised his hands. "You said you wanted to study human intimacy. I didn't think you meant for real," she growled. "You did this in 5 minutes. Jace blinked. "Well, 4.5, maybe. You kind of rushed me." Their eyes locked. Something beyond shock shimmered between them. Tension. Denial. A silent war of uncertainty. And then, an explosion rocked the distant ridge. Alea winced and gripped her belly. "They're coming. The Zarn still hunt me." Jace's brow furrowed. "Zarn." She nodded. "Genetic supremacists. My people's enemies. They will kill the hybrid child growing within me." "But you just got pregnant," he said. She shook her head. "Human seed reacts violently with Alari DNA. Accelerated gestation. The child will be born in less than 3 days." "Wait, are you saying I just speedran evolution?" "You speedran an entire species timeline," she replied flatly. Together they fled. Alea led him to an overgrown Alari outpost shielded by camouflaging tech. Inside, tech hummed to life at her touch. "Rest. I will prepare defenses," she whispered. "You are now bonded." "Bonded? Alari tradition," she said, almost reluctantly. "If you mate and offspring result, you protect them. Forever." Jace cracked a grin. "Kinda wish I'd read the fine print first." But he didn't rest. As Alea scanned for threats, Jace pulled up schematics of the terrain. He had 3 days to turn this forgotten forest into a fortress. Because the Zarn wouldn't wait for a baby shower. They came in numbers. Invisible scouts, biodrones, creeping toxins in the mist. And in the night, as Alea trembled from pain and change, Jace stood over her with a blade forged of fallen satellite parts and alien alloy. "You did this?" she whispered, teeth gritted. He smiled softly. "I know, and I'm not going anywhere." Alea writhed in silence, her back pressed against the cool moss-covered wall of the ancient Alari outpost. The strange, rhythmic pulses of energy coming from her abdomen were intensifying by the hour. Her once ethereal complexion had shifted, glowing in jagged bursts of violet beneath her skin, as though lightning was trapped inside her veins. Jace knelt beside her, sweat beading on his brow, not from heat, but tension. His instincts screamed to move, to run patrol, to reinforce the traps he'd set around the forest. But instead, he stayed still, watching her, studying every movement. "Your biology's doing something I've never seen," he said, voice quiet, uncertain. "Your vitals are off the charts. Heart rate's climbing. You're overheating." "I will endure," Alea muttered, forcing herself upright. Her voice was hoarse. "Alari endure pain. We are not soft." She wobbled. He reached out and caught her before she fell. "You don't have to prove anything. You're already tougher than any human I've known." She turned her head, pain flickering across her usually composed features. "They're coming. I know. They will kill us both to keep the bloodlines pure. The Zarn do not tolerate contamination." "Well," Jace said as he helped her sit back down, "they're about to get very contaminated by my bullets." She chuckled faintly, even through the pain. Outside, the ancient outpost was ringed with Jace's makeshift defenses. He'd rigged biomines, reactivated a few half-dead drones, sharpened the Alari grav beams into cutting arcs. He'd fought on jungle planets, asteroid bunkers, snow-choked colonies, but never for a cause like this. The forest had grown silent. Too silent. Then the first Zarn appeared, like a ripple in air, its cloak unraveling as it leapt from the treetops. Jace spun and fired. A burst of hot plasma tore through its chest. A second scout darted in, blade drawn. But Jace pivoted, deflecting with his left arm and driving a vibra knife through the creature's eye socket. 2 down, he muttered. But that was just recon. Alea stumbled to the doorway. Her breath was ragged, but her hands glowed with burning light. When 3 more Zarn dropped into view, she unleashed a blast of radiant energy that sent them tumbling, shrieking into ash. Her body shook. He rushed to steady her. "The child is accelerating," she whispered. "Faster than I calculated. The fusion of our genetics. It's unpredictable. You're telling me we might have a baby in what, hours? Maybe less. And I thought 5 minutes was fast." She didn't laugh this time. Her hands gripped his shirt. "If they take me, they won't just terminate the child. They'll track your DNA. Earth will no longer be safe." His smile vanished. "Then we don't let them take anything. They made it through the night. Barely." Jace patched wounds, rearmed traps, and reinforced the outpost's eastern flank. Alea meditated when she wasn't writhing in contractions. Her species, she explained, didn't give birth like humans. There was pain, but also psychic awakening, memory fusion, and a surge of evolutionary force as her body became a beacon. And now it was glowing. Jace sat beside her, his pulse pounding. "I was raised in war," she said softly. "Chosen for combat before I could walk. My kind doesn't do families. Doesn't do love. Mine does," he answered, watching her eyes. "Do you love me?" she asked. "I think I'm starting to," he said. She didn't answer, but the way she leaned against him said more than words ever could. The second wave hit just after sunset. They didn't come quiet this time. They roared. 12-foot Zarn berserkers crashed through the trees, their bodies part flesh, part living armor, each step trembling the earth. Jace activated the first perimeter trap. A cluster of rotors spun and sliced 2 of them apart. A third stepped into a seismic charge and exploded in green mist. But more kept coming. Jace stood atop the ridge, plasma rifle blazing. He shifted position every few seconds, never letting them triangulate. 1 Zarn charged up the side and reached him, claws out. Jace sidestepped, slammed a blade through its armpit, and flipped it over the edge. The Ilari weren't passive either. Alea emerged again, eyes glowing bright as moons, energy surging from her hands in twin lances of light. But each burst drained her more. "You shouldn't be fighting," Jace began. "I must," she said, face pale. "My people would rather die than let hybrids live. I will live, for this child." Then she screamed. The child was coming. Jace lifted her into his arms and carried her below, to the last secure chamber. "I'm here," he said. "I'm not leaving you." Her breaths were shallow, but her grip was strong. "You already stayed longer than any Ilari male ever would." "That's because I'm human." Lightning danced through her veins. She screamed again, but not in agony. In transformation. The lights dimmed. A frequency began to resonate. The chamber walls pulsed with rhythm, like a heartbeat, but alien, ancient, full of something not quite natural. Jace held her hand and braced her back. "You've fought through death squads. You've survived the impossible. You can do this." Her body arched. There was light, and then a cry. No, not a cry. A tone. A musical pulse that echoed through metal and bone alike. Jace felt it ripple through his chest. He looked down. In Alea's trembling arms was the child. Small, glowing, human-shaped but something more. Eyes already open, radiant with light. His heartbeat vibrated through the air like a song. Jace was speechless. Alea looked at him, awe in her voice. "This child is not merely hybrid. It is a key to something far greater." But then, the sky above cracked with thunder. The Zarn motherbinder had arrived. And she wasn't alone. The forest trembled. Even the roots recoiled. Birds vanished. The sky no longer burned red, it bled violet. A pulse, like the aftershock of a collapsing star, rippled through every molecule of the air. Jace stepped forward, rifle clutched in his hands, sweat clinging to his skin. Behind him, deep inside the outpost's reinforced chamber, Alea lay with the newborn child curled against her chest, glowing, humming, watching the world with eyes older than time. And from the trees, they came. The Zarn motherbinder descended in silence. She floated rather than walked, her form massive yet disturbingly graceful. A fusion of biotissue and consciousness, tentacled like an ancient deep-sea creature, veined with living circuitry. Dozens of lesser Zarn slithered in formation around her, whispering in a language that bruised the air itself. Jace didn't flinch. "You're not taking them," he said through clenched teeth. The motherbinder's voice bypassed sound and burrowed into his thoughts, sticky and cold. "Primitive flesh. You should have perished after rutting. Instead, you've crafted an abomination." Jace stepped closer to the ridge, adjusting the charge on his rifle. "You're scared of the kid, aren't you? The hybrid child is a threat, an anomaly. Its existence violates the convergence accord. It will unlock doors we sealed millennia ago." He narrowed his eyes. "Good. Then I definitely won't let you have it." The motherbinder made a gesture, and the forest ignited. Zarn warriors swarmed, teeth glistening, claws scraping across stone and bark. But Jace was already moving. He vaulted behind a fallen Alari pylon and slammed his fist into the override panel. Mines detonated in every direction. Screams echoed. His traps didn't kill them all, but they slowed them, long enough for him to fall back inside. He sealed the main door just as Alea staggered forward, child still in her arms. She was pale, shaking. "They're here," she whispered. "I feel her, the matriarch. She wants him." The baby was quiet, watching her face, glowing softly. "He's calm," Jay said. "Too calm." "It's not calmness," she whispered. "It's awareness. He understands. Jace, he's more than a child. He's already thinking." A mechanical hiss sounded behind them, one of the rear hatches being torn open. The Zarn had breached the secondary tunnel. Jace turned. "Get below. Lock the second chamber. If I don't come back." Alea grabbed his wrist. "Don't you dare say that." He kissed her forehead. "I'm not running anymore. Not from you. Not from this." She nodded slowly. "Then let's make them regret ever crossing the Alari. And a human." He smiled grimly. "That's the spirit." Jace stormed back into the upper corridor, plasma rifle at his side, blade at his hip. He moved like a shadow, swift, brutal, precise. The first Zarn to breach the outpost walls lost its head. The second tried to tackle him, and found itself impaled on the end of a broken beam. Still, there were too many. One tackled him through a side wall, crashing them both into the moss-covered floor of the forest outside. Jace rolled and jammed his elbow into the Zarn's throat before driving a blade through its ribcage. He rose, bleeding. The motherbinder watched from a distance. Then she moved, faster than he expected. Tentacles lashed through the air like serpents. Jace barely ducked the first, but the second coiled around his leg and yanked him into the air. He twisted, swung his blade wildly, and severed the limb. He hit the ground hard, back cracking. The pain didn't stop him. He fired upward, scoring a hit across the matriarch's face. One of her eyes ruptured in a burst of glowing black fluid. She screamed, but it wasn't pain. It was laughter. "You fight like prey that thinks it's predator," she hissed into his mind. "But you forget. The child will come to us willingly. He calls to us." "No," came Alea's voice. She stood just beyond the crumbled ridge, her arms cradling the child, her face defiant. "You think you control fate. You think you engineered purity. But what you fear most is what you can't predict." The child opened his eyes. The pulse returned, deeper this time, stronger, resonating like a tuning fork that matched the vibration of the planet itself. And then it spoke, not in words, in thought. It reached into the minds of both human and alien, and showed them images. A galactic door, a key, a fracture in time, a future where Ilari and human evolve together, building bridges instead of battlegrounds. The child was the bridge, a cosmic event, born in 5 minutes. The Zarn screeched, the matriarch lunged, but something changed in that moment. The baby raised a small hand, and the air solidified. The tentacle stopped mid-swing. Cracks appeared in its surface, like glass being stressed to its limit. The forest vibrated. Jace grabbed Ilari's free hand and pulled her behind him. Is the baby doing this? She nodded slowly. He's manipulating quantum presence, reshaping local reality. Wait, what? She swallowed. He's protecting us. The mother binder shrieked in rage, her form expanding, warping, glitching with gravitational distortion. And then she collapsed, like a tower of gelatin. Her body caved inward, sucked into itself by invisible force. The Zarn screamed. Some tried to flee. Others dropped, mind shattered from exposure to the child's presence. Silence fell again. Alea collapsed to her knees, still holding the baby. Jace dropped beside her, arms wrapped around both. You okay? She nodded. I think he saved us all. Yeah. Kid's a bit of a show-off, huh? He said, trying to laugh through the adrenaline crash. Then the baby looked up at them. His lips didn't move, but both of them heard the message. Father, mother, safe. Jace stared in disbelief. Alea wept quietly. Then the child closed his eyes and slept. The battle was over, but the story was only beginning. 3 days had passed since the sky cracked and the Zarn fell. Delmora Prime had gone quiet, not with dread, but with reverence. The forest, once a battlefield of blood and smoke, now pulsed gently, as if even the trees bowed in awe of what had occurred. Inside the rebuilt Ilari outpost, Jace Thorn stood shirtless beneath the glow of soft crystal lights, scanning the perimeter logs. His left shoulder was bandaged, his knuckles raw. His body was bruised, exhausted, and at peace for the first time in years. Behind him, Alea reclined on the woven bio couch, her white hair spilling across the cushions like liquid silver. She cradled the child to her chest, a small being who breathed not like a baby, but like a presence, glowing faintly with each exhale. He hasn't cried once, Jace said without turning. Ilari infants don't cry, Alea replied, stroking the child's small cheek. They feel, and he's content. Does he have a name yet? She tilted her head. Ilari do not name until the child chooses one. Jace turned around. Well, I'd like to call him something other than the baby that collapsed a war matriarch with his brain. She chuckled softly. He will choose when he's ready. He's more aware than even I understand. The child opened his glowing eyes then, and both parents heard it at once. A whisper not of sound, but soul. Kyan. Alea's eyes widened. He speaks the forgotten tongue, the first language of our kind. It hasn't been heard in millennia. Jace sat beside her, stunned. So, Kyan. The baby blinked. A pulse echoed in both their minds. Yes, I am Kyan. Later that night, as the stars blazed above them and the outpost hummed with stillness, Jace sat by the fire they built, more for nostalgia than warmth. Alea joined him, cloaked in a silken wrap, Kyan asleep in her arms. You know they'll come looking, Jace said quietly. Alea nodded. Ilari High Command, the last of the Zarn. Traitors, pirates, governments who want to control or destroy what Kyan represents. And Earth? He asked. They'll trace your genome eventually. Even hidden, even shielded. His blood will echo across systems. So what do we do? Jace asked. We do what warriors have always done, she replied. We fight, not just to protect him, but to shape what comes next. He leaned toward her, brushing his forehead against hers. That sounds exhausting. It is, she murmured, then smiled. But this time, it's worth it. By dawn, the ship arrived. A battered long-range Ilari cruiser, cloaked under stealth and signal disruption, landed in the clearing like a metallic ghost. Its AI, activated long ago by Alea's biosignature, had been programmed for one purpose: retreat and rebirth. Jace stood at the ramp, one hand on his pistol, the other shielding his eyes. You sure about this? Alea stepped beside him. The galaxy needs to know, but not all at once. We'll travel the silent routes. Speak to those who still believe in peace. Forge alliances. He raised an eyebrow. So, you, me, and baby Kyan, galactic fugitives with a god-tier infant? Essentially, yes. He laughed. I've had worse jobs. They boarded. Inside, the cruiser's interior adjusted for them. The ship recognized Kyan instantly. Systems awakened that hadn't responded in decades. Navigation charts rerouted. Languages reconfigured. Power surged, not from the engines but from the child. Jace sat in the cockpit, amazed. He's syncing with everything, he whispered. He is the future, Alea said. More than just Ilari or human. Kyan is possibility incarnate. As the ship lifted, the forest below shrank, the battlefield where war gave way to something stranger. Brighter. For weeks they traveled. To the asteroid gardens of Ithalone, where glowing monks chanted prophecies of the hybrid flame. To the vault libraries of Virex, where Kyan's pulse opened doors sealed since the dawn of time. To the drifting refugee fleets beyond Zaran's edge, where orphaned alien children reached out, and Kyan healed them without touch, with only presence. And in every place they visited, Jace watched something grow not just in Kyan but in Alea. She laughed more now, smiled easily, fell asleep beside him each night, trusting. One night, under the twin moons of a dead planet, she took his hand and placed it on her heart. Jace, I was never meant to bond, but I do now. With you, with him, with this future we've made. He cupped her cheek. Took us 5 minutes to change everything. She smirked. You do work fast. They kissed. Not out of desperation, not out of obligation, but out of something rare and earned. Connection. But the galaxy wasn't idle. The final Zarn remnants rallied in silence, spreading whispers of the child that unmade a matriarch. Ilari radicals called Kyan a contamination of lineage. Terran governments debated disavowal or recruitment. And in the dark space between systems something ancient stirred. An old AI god. One that had once classified hybrids as anomaly threats. It had been sleeping. Kyan's birth had woken it. Now, from deep inside the ship, Kyan opened his eyes. His glow flared. He turned to Alea and Jace. And with impossible calm he said, It's coming for us. I'll need you both now. Jace tightened his grip on the controls. Alea raised her pulse blades, gaze fierce. The human, the warrior, and the miracle child were ready.